Japan Germany aggro is the most popular deck in cards tournaments and ranked. Although JAggro has probably the most established deck list overall, it's struggling right now. Because JAggro is the most consistent and a very mature deck, the recent World at War expansions and the last balance patches were strengthening other archetypes and giving them more powerful weapons against the common meta, like JAggro. This deck is still capable of packing a punch and overrun any deck that doesn't find a good opening within the first 3 turns. It's one of the fastest decks with an easy to execute game plan, take the front line, and attack the opponent's HQ. Key cards include the First Signal Regiment, Sendai Regiment, and the Feigned Retreat. The most established build has Japan as the main, with Germany as your ally. Credit denial cards are the opposite of ramp cards. Rather than giving you credits, they do exactly as the name suggests, and they take them away. Cards with this ability existed before, like Daylight Bombing or Strategic Bombing, but with the introduction of Observer Corps, a 1-cost order that lowers the cost of cards that cost 4 credits or more by 2, it's possible to play Daylight Bombing on turn 2, and with Southern Plan there are now 4 options, making this more consistent than ever. If this deck high rolls, it can destroy 5 credit slots until turn 7, leading to a credit disadvantage of 2 credits versus 9. Blackwatch and Lancaster Bomber 3rd Squadron are supporting the game plan by adding credit cost to the opponent's cards. Since this is just the conception of the new credit denial archetype, most lists are not fully developed yet, and we'll see more versions of it in the future, as more and more players refine the idea and contribute to its development. Key cards in credit denial are Observer Corps, Daylight Bombing, Southern Plan, Shelling, and the aforementioned Blackwatch. After being nearly unplayable and occasionally showing up semi-successful in tournaments since Season 8 when Darkness won that season by only playing US Brit Ramp on ladder, US Ramp finally has a comeback. Most important for this comeback is the change of United We Stand. Now providing a 2-credit removal against JAggro or other fast decks combined with the Ramp ability skyrockets the chances of Ramp to win against every aggro deck. It's still below 50%, fast decks are still strong against it, but with United We Stand and the change of 332nd Engineer Regiment, now healing the HQ by 2, US Ramp received more heal and removal possibilities in combination with extra credit gain. Key cards include Ramp like United We Stand and War Bonds, combined with high-cost, high-value cards like High Altitude Bombing, Seaborne Invasion, or B-17 Flying Fortress. Soviet Italy Control and German Italy Control are very different deck lists, but their archetype and game plan is similar to Heavy Control. The goal is to outtrade and outvalue the opponent, making Heavy Control more flexible in comparison to other archetypes. The game plan is to build up defenses with early guards like Bologna Regiment, and disrupt the opponent's attempts to build a board with cheap but impactful orders. Then, it's important to heal and draw cards while trading 2-for-1 with bigger units and using omni-potential removal cards like Lion for a Day and La Decima to take out everything the opponent plays. The highlight of German control is Leopold, and for Soviet control it's Winter Warfare with ISU 152 to clear the entire board. Legion decks use Poland as the ally nation to produce a lot of infantry token-like units called Legions. They get buffed +1/+1 every time an intel card is played. Intel reveals cards from the opponent's hand, giving valuable information about their game plan and options to find the best way of outplaying them. In combination with the US frontline archetype, this deck has reached its peak in popularity and success. No-in-5 refined this list and won the March OCC and the Cards Open 10 with this very list. The game plan is to flood the board with infantry units, then making them resistant to board clears with We Can Do It, and the general ability of the Legion units being buffed by intel. In addition, you can create massive threats with Unity as Strength, which buff an infantry +1/+1 for every infantry you control on the board. Other key cards include US infantry units like Red Devil and 32nd Infantry Regiment, Western Plan, and Underground State. Brit Air, alongside JAggro, is the most used tournament deck in Kards history so far. The Japan ally possibilities were nerfed quite significantly recently, and the close air support now is a fixed +1/+1 buff for one Brit Air unit and its adjacent units. This changes the way of playing Brit Air. Previously, the game plan was to have a lot of air units on the board and buff one Hurricane with Fury to burst out a lot of damage. Since the changes, Brit Air has a much more stable early game. The ability to buff 3 units with one close air support nerfs the burst potential, but in combination with Greyhound, Swordfish, and Gladiator, this buff can be applied on 1/3 units to turn them into 2/4s, making them more difficult to remove, and splitting the buff onto 2 or 3 units makes single target removals like Sky Barons or Sudden Strike less effective against air. On top of this, the United We Stand change adds a very helpful removal against early aggro attempts to take control of the board, and helps protect your bombers. Additionally, the credit buff adds much more tempo to this deck. Keycards include Swordfish, Greyhound, Close Air Support, and the Empire Strikes. Special thanks to Darkness and Red Sun for helping compile this meta report. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe for more content from the War Room, and leave a comment below letting us know what decks you've been victorious with.